Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for joining me today. And it's a great opportunity to have a chat about MASLD and the Islands Project, which we're very excited about. So first of all, Jonathan, can you tell me why MASLD? What is MASLD? Why should we care about it?
Okay, so MASLD, or metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease, is the commonest liver disease worldwide now. It's caused by an excessive buildup of fat in the liver. It's closely associated with type 2 diabetes, obesity, other metabolic conditions. It's a silent disease often, so many patients in the earlier stages have no symptoms, but it can lead to liver scarring, or advanced liver scarring is what we call cirrhosis of the liver, liver failure, and liver cancer. But not everyone with MASLD follows the same path. So the challenge is identifying people who will be fine and people who will go on to develop complications. In Scotland, it's a particularly urgent problem. Scotland has higher hospital admission rates and deaths from MASLD than the rest of the UK, and higher than most European countries. The prevalence of MASLD is predicted to increase even further in coming decades, and it's closely linked to socioeconomic deprivation. I think it also alarming for me as a physician is that 2/3 of Scottish adults are overweight or obese, and 1/3 of children are overweight or obese. So you can see what is coming down the line.
So, Jonathan, tell me, are patients just now with MASLD in the UK and Europe and US, what treatments options are there at the moment, and what can we look forward to in the future?
So at the moment, lifestyle changes, so weight loss through diet or exercise is the foundation of treatment. But we're entering an exciting era of emerging therapies, but for selected patients, and identifying the right patients for the right treatments is where the challenge lies. As I said before, you can have two patients that look very similar, but they have very different outcomes. So identifying the right people for the right treatments is where the real challenge comes in. But there's an exciting new opportunity for new diagnostics and new therapies that are emerging. But you need the right patients to receive those and to study them.
So, Jonathan, why is MASLD difficult to diagnose, and what are the consequences if we don't pick people up soon enough with MASLD?
So it's often called a silent disease. Many people are asymptomatic, particularly in the early stages. You can have normal liver blood tests even when the disease is present. So that inherently is challenging. We often aren't aware of patients until they present with more advanced disease, with liver scarring, liver failure, liver cancer. And at those advanced stages, the treatment options are much more limited and outcomes are poorer.
Um, so what is Islands hoping to achieve, or what is Islands, and how might that help this growing problem of MASLD in Scotland?
Okay, so Islands will be the first Scottish national MASLD registry and biobank. So it aims to recruit 1,500 patients, follow them up for at least 5 years, collecting really important clinical information, collecting biological samples from the patients as well, to help us better understand MASLD, its biology, how it progresses, and to identify the highest risk patients. The other thing about Islands is that it's not just a biorepository. It's not just a registry. We think of it more as a research engine at that intersection between clinical, academia, and industry. So in that sense, it could potentially be a very powerful platform for um, uh, just biobanking, for biomarker discovery, validation, precision medicine, and accelerating recruitment into clinical trials.
Okay, so the advantages, it sounds like the advantages then to participants in the study could potentially be twofold. So they're getting information about their MASLD. So will we be able to tell them, or give them an idea of how high risk they are when they enter in Islands, do you think?
Exactly. So it offers the potential benefits of earlier diagnosis, risk prediction, and access to the right treatments or the right clinical studies at the right time. So there are potentially huge benefits for patients, benefits for science, and also benefits for Scotland itself by increasing innovation, attracting clinical trials and investment, and also improving outcomes for patients across the country.
Yeah, I think that sounds really exciting because certainly from my perspective, I think in Scotland, I don't know if you agree, but I think we're quite often underrepresented in clinical trials and we have quite a research naive population. So I think this would be a great opportunity for them to participate not only in the longitudinal study, but yeah, have access hopefully to more commercial trials that we otherwise don't get in this part of the UK compared to some other parts.
Yeah, you're quite right. I mean, the data that we collect tends to be fragmented and localized. Um, bio biorepositories of samples again tend to be focused in one particular area of the country. That connection between of the samples and the longitudinal data, that's the uniqueness at a national scale.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. So we'll be biobanking samples from a richly phenotyped population. Is that kind of information available elsewhere at the moment, or will this be quite unique to islands, do you think?
This will be certainly be unique for Scotland and for the UK. There are some international cohorts that have collected longitudinal data and biological samples. Of course, the benefit there is that we can provide a validation data set for other international consortia. So it puts us firmly on the map and makes Scotland a leader in the field.
So what tools are we hoping to use in islands that will help us identify these patients earlier? And what might a participant expect when they enter into the islands project?
So I look at islands in two ways. One is it's a really perfect opportunity to educate patients and increase awareness of MASLD, because I think that is a major problem. And the second thing, of course, is the ability to collect information and to give patients real-time feedback and encouragement about how their disease is progressing. So a key component in this is something called a FibroScan, which is like an ultrasound, but it vibrates and it measures how stiff the liver is. That's an indication of how much scarring's in the liver. It also measures the amount of fat in the liver, and it's a dynamic test, so you can measure it over time and you can see how people's disease is changing. I find that clinically really helpful because patients have an idea of whether they're getting better or getting worse. So there's that, blood samples as well, and an annual review, again, to collect information about the state of the disease, but also understand how patients feel. We're not very good at collecting information about patient symptoms in MASLD, and this is a really good opportunity to collect patient-reported data, again, longitudinally over time.
And lots of people will have heard the term fatty liver before, and a lot of people are out there thinking they've been told, they have fatty liver before. Should they all be concerned that they've MASLD? How many people who've been told they've got fatty liver have MASLD, and what's the difference?
So not wanting to get too statistical, but 38% of adults in the world have too much fat in their liver. As you say, we used to call it fatty liver. We now call it MASLD. That links it explicitly to the metabolic risk factors that we know drive the condition.
So then you touched a wee bit on this earlier, but why Scotland in general? Why do you think we have such a big need for something like islands?
As you say, that I think there's a huge unmet need for patients, but there's also a unique opportunity. So we have this, we face this growing burden of liver disease. It's increasing year on year, but we also have incredible expertise in clinical, academic, and commercial research experience. So that can be brought to the table, and I think that is the uniqueness of this, and its ability to do it at scale on a national scale that I think really will make a difference.
Great. And what's our for both of us to sort of think if we're going to invest in islands and hopefully get the whole nation involved, what do we see in 5, 10 years time? What would islands look like if it's a success in a decade from now? What will it have achieved?
So to me, it means patients will be getting an earlier diagnosis, hopefully a better prediction of risk, and they'll be able to access the right treatments and the right studies at the right time. For science, I think it means a better understanding of MASLD. It has the ability to transform how we look at progression of patients over time. And for Scotland, I think it offers multiple opportunities. So it's attracting innovation, clinical trials, investment into Scotland, but hopefully, as I said before, improving outcomes for patients ultimately across the whole country.
So Jonathan, what are the challenges for pharma and biotechs when they're recruiting for clinical trials, and how might islands help that?
So, the benefit of islands is you have a cohort of well phenotyped, recruitment ready, consented patients that are engaged with research, which makes it much quicker to get people into studies, retain them in studies as well. So I think it will help enormously in terms of Scotland's clinical trial efforts.
Yep, brilliant, excellent. Okay, well, Jonathan, thank you so much for speaking to me today. It's really great always to speak to you about islands. It's something that I know we're both very passionate about, bringing to Scotland and all the benefits it'll have both for our patients and for Scotland as a nation. So thank you again for your time.
Absolute pleasure. It's very exciting.